I grew vegetables using only kitchen waste. Does it work? Wait, so you're telling me I've been throwing away free fertilizer this whole time? Yeah, me too. I started dumping my coffee grounds and banana peels directly on my tomato plants, thinking I was some kind of genius. Spoiler alert. I killed 3 plants before I figured out what I was doing wrong, so here's what happened. 3 months ago, I decided to stop buying fertilizer and just use my kitchen scraps instead. I mean, it makes sense, right? Food waste has nutrients. Plants need nutrients. Simple math. Except plants don't do math the way we think they do, and I learned that the hard way. I was so confident about this. Every morning I'd finish my coffee and walk straight to the garden with those used grounds. Every time I cooked dinner, I'd save the vegetable scraps and bury them around my plants. Banana peels, orange peels, eggshells, you name it. I was convinced I'd crack the code to free, organic gardening. My family thought I was crazy. My neighbor kept asking why my garden smelled weird, but I didn't care because I'd seen all these videos online showing people with massive vegetables grown entirely on kitchen scraps. If they could do it, why couldn't I? Here's the thing though. Nobody talks about what happens when it goes wrong. Nobody shows you the dead plants, the fruit fly invasions, or the soil that turns into a gross, slimy mess. They just show you the success stories, the giant tomatoes, the perfect peppers, the lush green gardens, and I fell for it completely. I thought I was being smart. I thought I was saving money and helping the environment at the same time. I even started telling my friends about it, acting like I was some gardening expert who'd have figured out this amazing secret. Yeah, that didn't age well. Today I'm going to show you everything I tried, what actually worked, what completely failed, and why most of us are doing this totally wrong. I'm going to be honest about my mistakes because I wish someone had been honest with me before I started. I'm going to explain the science behind why kitchen scraps aren't as simple as they seem. And I'm going to share what finally changed everything for my garden and actually got me the results I was hoping for from the beginning. Plus, I'm going to show you my plants now versus 3 months ago, and the difference is honestly crazy. If you've ever wondered whether you can really grow vegetables with just kitchen waste, or if you've tried it yourself and had weird results, you need to see this. Because there's a right way and a wrong way to do this, and I learned both the hard way, so you don't have to. Trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why your kitchen scraps might be hurting your plants instead of helping them, and what you can actually do about it. Okay, so let me take you back to where this all started. I was making breakfast, staring at my coffee grounds and eggshells, and I thought, why am I throwing this away? I'd seen those videos where people just toss their scraps in the garden and grow these massive vegetables, so I figured, let me try it. I went outside and looked at my little vegetable garden. 6 tomato plants, 4 pepper plants, and a row of lettuce. Nothing fancy, just a normal backyard garden. And I decided right then and there, no more store-bought fertilizer. I was going all natural with kitchen scraps only. Week 1, I went all in. Coffee grounds on the tomatoes, banana peels around my peppers, crushed eggshells everywhere. I even saved my vegetable scraps and buried them next to my lettuce, carrot tops, onion skins, potato peels, everything. I felt like a gardening genius. I was literally feeding my plants for free. My morning routine changed completely. I'd wake up, make coffee, and immediately take the grounds outside. I'd peel a banana for my smoothie and walk it straight to the pepper plants. Cooking dinner became this whole process where I'd carefully separate anything organic and plan which plant was getting what. I was so into it. I even started asking my coworkers to save their coffee grounds for me. Yeah, I became that person. I had a little container at work labeled with my name, and people would dump their used coffee in there. I'd bring home like 2 pounds of coffee grounds every week. Looking back, I was obsessed. Week 2, things looked okay. Nothing amazing, but nothing terrible either. The plants weren't exactly exploding with growth, but they weren't dead, so I counted that as a win. I kept adding more scraps, more coffee, more peels. I'd read somewhere that banana peels were like magic for fruiting plants, so I was putting them everywhere. I was on a mission. I remember calling my mom and telling her about my experiment. She was skeptical. She said something like, "Honey, there's a reason people buy fertilizer." But I brushed her off. I was convinced I knew better. Then week 3 hit, and I noticed something weird. My tomato leaves were turning yellow at the bottom. Not just one plant, but 3 of them. my pepper plants looked droopy and sad, even though I was watering them regularly. And the lettuce? Don't even get me started. The lettuce basically gave up on life. The leaves were pale and stunted. I panicked. My first thought was that maybe I wasn't giving them enough kitchen scraps, so I doubled down. I added more coffee grounds. I buried more banana peels. I crushed up every eggshell I could find. If a little bit was good, more had to be better, right? Yeah, that made it worse. Way worse. By week 4, I had fruit flies everywhere, like clouds of them. Some of my plants were dying. The tomatoes that weren't already yellow were now dropping their leaves, and my garden smelled like a garbage can that had been sitting in the sun. Not exactly the thriving vegetable paradise I was going for. So I did what any confused gardener does. I started researching like crazy. I spent hours reading articles, watching videos, scrolling through gardening forums at midnight. And here's what I learned that nobody tells you in those viral videos. First problem. Raw kitchen scraps don't break down fast enough. When you throw a banana peel on the soil, it can take weeks or even months to decompose. Meanwhile, it's just sitting there attracting pests, and potentially growing mold. Your plants can't use it until it breaks down completely. It's like putting a raw steak in front of someone and expecting them to absorb the protein through their skin. That's not how it works. I found out that decomposition needs the right conditions. Temperature, moisture, airflow, microorganisms. Just tossing stuff on top of the soil doesn't create those conditions. All I was doing was making a buffet for bugs, and creating a mess. Second problem, the nitrogen lock. This one blew my mind. When you add fresh scraps, especially things like vegetable peels, the decomposition process actually pulls nitrogen out of your soil temporarily. The microorganisms breaking down the scraps need nitrogen to do their job, so they steal it from the soil. Your plants end up starving even though you're adding organic matter. It is like putting food in front of someone but telling them they can't eat it yet. Worse, it is like taking away the food they already had. This explains so much. My yellow leaves, classic nitrogen deficiency. I wasn't helping my plants. I was accidentally starving them while thinking I was feeding them. The irony was painful. Third problem, and this is the big one, balance. Plants need specific ratios of nutrients. They need nitrogen for leaves and stems, phosphorus for roots and fruit development, potassium for overall health and disease resistance, plus calcium, magnesium, sulfur, and a bunch of micronutrients like iron and zinc. When you're just randomly throwing kitchen scraps around, you have no idea what you're actually giving them. Coffee grounds, mostly nitrogen, but not much else. Banana peels, potassium, but it takes forever to become available. Eggshells, calcium, but again, super slow release. But what about phosphorus? What about all those micronutrients? You were basically gambling with your plant's nutrition and hoping you get lucky. I started looking at what I'd been doing with fresh eyes. I was giving my tomatoes tons of nitrogen from coffee grounds but barely any phosphorus. No wonder they weren't setting fruit properly. My peppers were getting random potassium from banana peels, but nothing consistent. The whole thing was a mess. I also learned that the pH matters way more than I thought. Coffee grounds are acidic. Too much of them can make your soil too acidic for most vegetables. Tomatoes like slightly acidic soil, but I'd pushed it too far. Eggshells are alkaline. If you use too many, you swing the other way, and lock up nutrients in a different way. Most of us are just winging it and hoping for the best. We see one ingredient, think it's good for plants, and dump it on without understanding the bigger picture. I was trying to feed my plants, but I didn't even know what language they were speaking. So after almost losing my entire garden, I realized I needed help. That's when I discovered Fancy Chicken. And no, this isn't what you think. It's actually composted chicken manure that's been specifically processed to give plants exactly what they need. Here's why this changed everything. For me. Fancy Chicken is basically what I was trying to do with my kitchen scraps, except it's already done right. It's fully composted, so there's no waiting for things to break down. No nitrogen lock, no pests, no smell, no fruit flies swarming around my garden. And most importantly, it's balanced. The ratio of nutrients is already figured out. It has nitrogen for leafy growth, phosphorus for roots and fruits, potassium for overall plant health, plus all those micronutrients I wasn't even thinking about, calcium, magnesium, all of it. It's like kitchen composting, but perfected and put in a bag. Someone already did the hard work of getting the balance right, so I didn't have to guess anymore. When I first got it, I was honestly skeptical. I thought, how is this different from what I was doing? But then I read the bag and realized this was composted for months, not just thrown together. The composting process breaks everything down completely and balances out the pH. It's ready to use immediately. I started using it on my struggling plants, and I'm not exaggerating when I say within 2 weeks I could see the difference. The yellow leaves on my tomatoes started greening up from the top down, my peppers perked up and actually started flowering, even the lettuce made a comeback. New growth came in dark green and healthy, the way it's supposed to look. By week 4 my tomatoes were setting fruit like crazy. I had peppers growing that actually looked like the pictures on the seed packets. The whole garden transformed. My neighbor, the one who kept asking about the smell, actually complimented my plants. That felt good, after all the embarrassment. But here's what I really love about it. I can still use my kitchen scraps, but now, I do it smart. I use fancy chicken as my base fertilizer to make sure my plants are getting consistent, balanced nutrition. Then, I can add small amounts of kitchen scraps on top as a supplement, not as the main meal. It's like making sure your kids eat a nutritious dinner before they have dessert. I still compost my coffee grounds, but now I let them break down properly first. I still use banana peels, but I don't rely on them as the only potassium source. The difference is, I'm not gambling anymore. My plants have what they need from fancy chicken, and anything else is just a bonus. My tomatoes this season were the biggest I've ever grown. We're talking beefsteak tomatoes the size of softballs. The peppers were incredible, thick-walled and sweet, and I didn't have to deal with any of the mess or guesswork. No more midnight research sessions trying to figure out why my plants were dying. Look, the dream of using only kitchen waste sounds amazing, and technically you can do it if you're willing to compost properly and wait months for everything to break down and balance out. You need a real compost bin, the right mix of materials, proper turning, temperature monitoring, the whole thing. But for most of us who just want to grow some vegetables without a chemistry degree or becoming a full-time composter, having something like fancy chicken that gives plants what they actually need makes way more sense. I'm not saying don't use your kitchen scraps, I'm saying understand what you're working with, and give your plants a proper foundation first. Think of fancy chicken as the main course, and your kitchen scraps as the side dish. Your garden will thank you, and you won't end up with sad yellow plants and fruit fly invasions like I did. So yeah, that's my story. Kitchen waste can work, but balance matters more than I ever realized. It's not just about giving your plants something organic, it's about giving them the right things in the right amounts at the right time. If you want to see exactly how I use fancy chicken in my garden now, I'll put a link in the description. And if you've had your own kitchen scrap disasters, drop a comment below because I know I'm not the only one who's done this. Seriously, I can't be the only person who turned their garden into a fruit fly resort. Let me know your stories. Happy growing, everyone.